All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Up and In Show. It's been a minute, but we're here in Cards and Culture on the Purple Couch. I'm with a special guest, Cris Pixley. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Cris, you are the CEO, you're the owner of Rejuvime Medical, which is our incredible sponsor of the podcast. We wouldn't be able to do what we do, and Joe wouldn't be here without you guys. Our team is very grateful to you guys for sponsoring the podcast and everything, so I'm excited to dive into a little bit about you and Rejuvime and what you do. And I know this is our second take. We won't tell anybody.
That's okay.
But yeah.
That's okay.
But thank you again for your time.
Now.
I know, exactly. We're going to kill it. All right, so why don't you give us a little quick 1 minute, 2 minute introduction, who you are, what you do, and that kind of stuff.
So background, I was born and raised Baton Rouge. I've lived here my entire life. Went to Catholic high school here in Baton Rouge. Got to go to school with some pretty cool guys, Kurt Ainsworth, Marucci Sports, Brandon Landry, walk-ons, lots of others. From there, met my wife at 20 years old. We've been together ever since. So I turned 46 next month.
Congratulations.
So that's a huge accomplishment for her, right? I feel like for me it's been pretty effortless, but like for her, I'm like that's got to be
She's
pretty challenging.
Person,
huh? Yeah, that's very special. But no, back in 2016, I had the pleasure. So the founder of Rejuvime Medical is Dr. Jonathan Weiler, right? He started it, and he's the reason that I'm here. He's the reason we're all here. And I had the privilege of being recruited by him to come on, and one thing led to the next, and I've had the honor of running the company, and it's just been an incredible team that we've had the entire time. It's been pretty crazy. But background also, a lot of training, fitness, nutrition, own GNCs, the vitamin stores.
Play sports growing up?
Yep, played hoops. I was
Nice.
a shooting
Let's
guard.
go.
I was a shooting guard. I have an older brother who was actually a really good shooting guard and played college and could have played at the next level if it wouldn't have been for a knee injury. But it's God, I just kind of recapped the last 46 years of my life. That was pretty crazy to think about all that. That was a lot. My brain was going in multiple directions there.
That's a good thing, though. And now you get to run Rejuvime, and you're right. Your team is absolutely incredible.
Yes.
I've been going to Rejuvime for 4 years now, 5 years, something like that. As soon as my baseball career was over, I had an injury, approached you guys. Holly's been absolutely incredible from day one for me. And, and again, this partnership with the podcast was organic over the last, couple months and things like that. But I've been a believer in Rejuvime for years and been going there. You guys have changed my life. But why don't you give us a quick rundown of what Rejuvime is, what you guys offer, and if anybody's looking to come in, what they can kind of expect when they walk in.
Yeah, so when you think, I always tell everybody, think of testosterone as being like the engine on your car. Think of your hormones as being like the engine on your car. Once you can fix the engine, everything else runs right. Make sense?
Yep.
So we specialize in medically monitored hormone replacement therapy. Now we are also doing, we've added a weight loss aspect with the semaglutides. Yep. There are some limited peptides, which are great for recovery, some oral and things like that mimic your body's natural human growth hormone production. And then in addition to that, we've got an incredible team of providers that does Botox and fillers, does like cosmetic stuff to keep us looking young, which was one of those things I really never saw myself personally doing until my wife was on me for quite some time. Parker has been on me for quite some time, and some other people. And it's like I think that stigma of, as a male, you don't want to look, and as a female, of course, but you don't want to look fake or anything like that. Man, Holly did some stuff recently to me. I'm like, oh my gosh. She goes, now you look like, instead of someone who gets up at 2 a.m., you look like someone who gets up at 4 a.m. And I was like, perfect.
That's so great.
Perfect.
Well, one of my biggest fears with that stuff, again, we're speaking openly here, what's the pain like, and where I don't know anything about it, so educate me a little bit on what I could expect walking in there.
So they did ask me. They said this was just recent. This was actually last week or earlier this week. All my days run together. They asked me. They said, "Hey, what's your pain tolerance.
Gotcha.
And Holly turned back around and said, he ruptured his tricep 5 years ago and continued skiing for 5 hours later.
That explains
I was
it.
like, yeah, so it's kind of obnoxious, my pain tolerance, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is the feeling it going in and hearing it and hearing the noises and all that stuff, which I strangely kind of got addicted to and told Holly that. I was like, is it weird that I kind of like those noises? But you can't feel anything because they numb you and everything. So, I don't think it's bad. There's a lot of people that do it. My wife does it, and she's never complained about any of it.
Yeah, and now there's a lot of science coming out about it being preventative, right? As you get older and everything too, right? That's a little bit of the science behind it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and Park, you might be able to jump in on this one. I'm sorry, I know you're.
We're not putting you on the spot. Don't worry.
I know you're off camera.
Yeah.
But increases collagen synthesis, increases, is it elasticity? Just does all kind. Prevents wrinkles.
Yeah.
There's some evidence that can help with like migraines and stuff like that, right?
Very cool.
So it's pretty crazy.
What we can do is probably put some links in the show notes to it in case people are interested. I have we had a lot of college kids that listen to the podcast from athletes and stuff like that. And I know young women are probably interested in that stuff. And if any guys are interested as well. So I think that's good.
Look, if you would have asked me 20 years ago, hey, are you going to, first off, I would have been like, what the hell is Botox?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. 20 years ago, we'd be like, what?
And then instead, no, nobody's sticking a needle in my face.
Ever.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, good. All right, let's backtrack a little bit. Something about, my podcast is about human performance and that kind of stuff. You're a high level performer. We talked about how Dr. Weiler approached you and wanted you to run the business. How did that start, and how did he identify you, and how did you really get started with Rejuvime?
So I ended up doing some type of, it was a nutrition video. So I kind of moonlit as a trainer for a bit there to give a little break from my GNCs, from running my GNCs on the day to day. So I did some type of nutrition video that they picked up on, and I was fortunate that he saw me on camera and was very, very complimentary of it, and essentially said, hey, I want to meet him. I want him doing commercials. I want him doing radio or whatever. And then kind of really the rest is history from there. But the running of the company part, that took a little bit of convincing on my part. There's days it still does sometimes, but no, it's been incredible. We're going on, I think, 7.5 years now.
I mean,
it's coming up.
To see the growth really is pretty incredible, just from a person that is a customer there, was a client there for years.
And we've known each other long before.
Exactly. We're going to Marucci when I was still playing ball. You were over there training, that kind of stuff. And I'd known you from GNCs and everything. So just to see that growth, and you've always, we're probably 10 years apart-ish, something like that. You've always been kind of somebody that I look up to, aspire to be like, work like, and that kind of stuff. So it has been absolutely incredible. But I think that's why I'm excited to give some people some insights too. We were joking on camera here that daylight savings kind of messed you up, and Holly made fun of you a little bit about what time you wake up in the morning. So talk to me a little bit about your routine and how you do what you do every day.
So I average about 4 to 4.5 hours of sleep per night. It is, I have an alarm clock set.
Yeah.
I think I told you last time, it turns out that the Rocky theme song or Tupac going off at 2 a.m., regardless of how long you have been faithfully married to someone. Again,
difficult.
Doesn't matter.
It's difficult to be.
You still get punched for that one. So I train myself over time just to wake up on my own.
Yeah.
But the short story is I'll lay down about 9:30, 10 o'clock, or it was 10 o'clock, right? Yeah. And then I would be up on average between 2 and 2:30. And it was just, hey, my body's like, hey, you're ready to go. You're good. And then I also, I'll meditate twice throughout the day. First thing whenever I wake up, then I go do a 90-minute training session where I'll do half of it is cardio, something simple on the elliptical to get going, get the juices flowing. And then I'll lift weights for 45 minutes. Then I'll come back home, and typically I'll do another quick 15, 20 minutes meditation. And then I will start doing some work. So about 5 a.m.-ish, 4:30, wherever time that falls, I will be sitting outside because, again, normal people aren't awake. My household isn't awake yet.
Exactly.
So I'll be sitting outside. And, one of the things I actually do, this is a little known fact, I'll sit there and smoke a cigar a lot.
Really?
Yeah, a really good cigar.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll use the same one for 2 or 3 days.
I love it.
Yeah.
Part of the meditation, part of the morning routine, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
and after I'm finished all that, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I'll have my post workout. I do the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So I don't actually eat until 8 or 9 a.m. And then I usually cut it off at 4 or 5 p.m.
Nice.
That's been a huge one for me to get away with only the 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But back to your original question. How has the daylight savings affected me? So I laid down at 9 one night, and I woke up. It's been about 1:30 for the last.
A lot of people going to sleep at that time.
Yeah. How long has it? How long has it been? Has it been 2 weeks? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. So
ish,
this has been going on for 2 weeks. I had a couple of midnights and a 12:30 in there, and I actually got up. And I'm just like, this is not
I can't.
you can't do this. And so I did tell myself, look, if you wake up for some reason at midnight, just force yourself to go back to sleep for at least another 90 minutes.
What's your, so I do want to get into a little bit what we talked about before we flipped on the cameras and the deep sleep and the recovery. But what are some of the tactics? Because I struggle. I wake up at 3 a.m. Sometimes I'm like, I need another 2 hours. I have to sleep 2 more hours. What's your technique to get back to sleep? Is there anything that you do specifically to get back into that sleep?
Honestly, I just lay there. I think meditation more than anything has taught me not to become so attached to my thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So as things are just floating through all day, and you'll hear a lot of people, they'll say, well, I tried to meditate. I can't because I can't clear my mind. That's not the point of meditation. Nobody can clear their mind.
Yeah.
The point is by not trying to clear the mind, it's the paradox, you clear the mind.
Exactly.
So I think just kind of acceptance of that background noise.
Nice.
And then just laying down. And not to mention, if you're it's not hard to fall asleep. If you're awake 19 to 20 hours a day, you don't have trouble.
Your body's ready and they're like, we're going to sleep, dude.
Yeah, I think I was telling you, so Ainsworth got me on the Whoop.
Yes.
Or if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah. Which I loved, but the thing was, it kept telling me, hey, dude, you're not recovered.
Yeah.
Because you're not sleeping enough. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm not using you anymore. So I switched to the Apple Ultra Watch, which was much nicer. It doesn't tell me that I'm not recovered.
Yes.
Like, look, there are some people that are different.
Yep.
Whoop, could you just
accept me?
Could you just accept that? And it got discouraging waking up every morning.
Seeing the red and the yellow and shit. Dude, and then it messes with your head. Yeah. I was the same way. Have you ever heard of the Oura Ring?
I have. Yeah. I have. Grace was actually telling me about that a while
It pairs with the Apple Watch. I had more success with the Oura Ring. Everybody's had different experiences.
Yep.
I had good success, and it tracks all your meditation, everything. So it kind of, I don't want to say gives you credit, but the more you meditate during the day, the less sleep and recovery you need throughout the night and stuff like that.
Which is how it should be. And I was trying to do that on the Whoop, and it would give you some credit, but it didn't seem like it was enough.
No. That's why I like the Oura Ring too, and it'll suggest things and it'll pick up your circadian rhythm. Yeah, and I think the measurables are good because what we were talking about is you said you're a good sleeper, and I think people take for granted, oh, he only sleeps 4 hours. That's crazy. He doesn't get enough sleep. But when you get quality sleep in those 4, you can lay in bed for 10 hours and you could eat a meal at 12 a.m. and then get in bed at 1 and your heart racing all night. You're not getting deep rest, So what you're talking about is quality sleep for 4.5 hours, and you're able to do what you do every single day.
Yeah, like if I was telling somebody the other day, like if and I'm human, so I will have a binge moment where it'll be ugly. Pizza.
It's like The Rock. You've seen his like cheat meals at night and stuff on like Sundays.
The Christmas cookie ice cream from Bluebell. Yeah. To where I literally, this was a few weeks back. It was a Saturday night. I brought the can of whipped cream with me, set it in between 2 cushions like it was a cup holder.
Wow.
Because I knew I was going to run out of whipped cream before I ran out of ice cream because it was like a Tupperware container of ice cream that I had. I should have just brought the whole damn gallon or half gallon or whatever it was. And I just kept refilling, just topping off.
That's such a good feeling.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And then the next morning though, it was like, yeah, that was not the best sleep I had.
Of course not. Yeah.
So that's typically, but it was worth it.
And that's the balance that you need, because sometimes for me, when I like abrupt my schedule like that, like so much, it makes me work so much harder the next 2 or 3 days or something along those lines. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that work-life balance. Obviously, you mentioned your wife, you have kids.
Yep.
How do you mix in all the things that you need to do to be able to be good on both ends?
I think the hardest part is that we and Kurt and I were also talking about this, turning off is the hardest part when you go home. But it's just making a conscious decision and I think it comes with age too. Like I said, I turned 46 in a month. And with age, you really do, as corny as it sounds, you start to realize what's important. Well, I think what you realize more than anything else is that the stuff that you used to worry about, like the stuff that you thought was such a big deal, you are not going to give a damn about it in about 48 hours at the longest, maybe 24.
Exactly. That's the long,
right.
Probably,
Right. And and it's going to go away. And unfortunately, it will probably be replaced by something else at times, too. But you just start to kind of get those ups and downs of life. And when I say ups and downs, more like the challenges, the curveballs, the uncertainty. And so when it comes to, the family work life, I've always just made a rule whenever I go home. I go home. That's why I do all my work so early in the morning. That's why I do it at the office. And then I very rarely, unless, again, if it's early in the morning and everybody else is asleep, yes. Yeah. But, and I've got 3, I've got a 19, 17, and 15-year-old. My 19-year-old Dylan is at LSU and he's doing awesome. He runs one of our GNCs for us.
Nice.
He's doing great. My 17-year-old Jackson is a senior baseball player at Dunham.
Nice.
And he is he's doing great. They're both all 3 of them are incredible students, incredibly hardworking. And then my daughter Faith, who is 15, is at St. Joseph's, and we are counting down the days to when she can drive.
I was just gonna say
because she transferred from Dunham, right? So she was riding. Right. So all 3 of my kids were at Dunham at one point, and so she transferred from Dunham, and she was riding with Jackson every day, which was nice. So we live in Geismar, which sounds like we live out on a farm somewhere. We don't. It's 4 miles from the Highland Road exit, right? But it is a hike in the morning. So actually, our advertising guy, Dave Peterson. We usually talk on the way. We'll talk periodically on the way to work, and I was like, "Hey," or on the way to drop our kids off because his daughter goes to St. Joseph's as well. I said, "Hey, Dave, what?" I said, "Where are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm still at home." It was like 7:10. I'd already dropped Faith off through the carpool line. Everything. I was like, "Dude, well, y'all live close, huh?" He goes, "Not really." And I was like, "How long does it take you to get here?" Probably like 8 minutes. I said, "Dave, let me rephrase the question and let me preface it with, I live in Geismar." Dave, how long does it take you to get here? Do y'all live close? And he's like, "Yeah, it's a good point, buddy. We do live pretty close."
Yeah, you're right. You know what? I'm close. That's so funny.
So we cannot wait till she can drive.
That's my brother. Like he's got and now 18-year-old and his daughter just started driving, but then they had an oops baby, so he's got a 5-year-old. I'm like, bro, you were so close. You were so close to having them have both of them driving, and you were out the woods. Yeah, so I always think that. I'm like, when the kids can drive, I'm like that, because again, I've known you from a distance for a while, got to know you over time, and then I'm like, how do you do what you do? And like with the family, the kids, it is really amazing. So that
you figure, and you can't. I think too. I know I am. I think a lot of guys, like in this situation, you're kind of addicted to chaos. Yeah. Like my partner, Dr. Weiler, is definitely addicted to chaos. And I mean that in a great way. Yeah. Like you just kind of, that constant stimulation, you like. And like, I can't, like people will say, hey, if let's say Cindy and the kids are going out of town for something, right? Oh my God, you get the house to yourself?
I'm miserable. I don't know what to do.
Miserable. Yeah. I know that sounds terrible. No. But I'm like, for like maybe the first 2 or 3 hours, because I'll get to watch something really loud, But like that's it. Then I go to bed and I'm like, it's just
now what do I do?
Yeah, like now what? Yeah. Like, especially when you're used to it,
Absolutely. And speaking of chaos, you guys, I mean, I guess it's beautiful chaos, but the company is growing. It seems like every time I flip on social media, you guys are opening a new location. So talk to me a little bit about where Rejuvime is at right now, locations, anything you want to talk about, and then where we're going in, next couple months, next years.
So we got pretty big plans. So we're about to open up 6, 7, and 8. Prairieville will be open in the next 2 weeks. Iberville, which is Mississippi, will be open middle of January, and then Monroe will be open middle of January. The biggest challenge with all this, it's kind of timing it all together between getting the right people hired, the right people trained, right? And then the build outs, we were fortunate we got in with a company for our Shreveport location, and they've been amazing. And we've all had the nightmare contractor stories, right?
Yep.
But these guys, they stick to everything. Like, they are way ahead of schedule and everything. So when they did that with Shreveport, I just turned around. I was like, hey, we got pretty big plans.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to do every one? And they've done every one
That's
since.
awesome.
So we got those 3, and then we'll have 3 more, which I'm not going to announce the actual locations yet, but those will be there will be 3 more after that in Q1. So that, whatever that is, 12, am I doing the math? 11? 11? Yes, that's 11, I think. And then we have bigger plans outside of Mississippi and Louisiana, which people will definitely be hearing about in 2024.
Wow.
So
the growth is absolutely incredible. And, as an entrepreneur, I was involved in a few gyms, that kind of stuff, then started this, and eventually want to do that. What's the key from the entrepreneurial standpoint or the business standpoint to being able to successfully scale to location 2, 3, and beyond, would you say? I know you've alluded to, it's obviously your team and your people, systems, processes, what?
Don't be a rat chasing shiny objects. Seriously.
Yeah.
So yes, systems, yes, processes, but stick to one thing and get great at it. So I think I may have said this before. I've never actually met him. I actually have met. I met Todd Graves once, coaching flag football. He has no idea who I am. But I remember at the beginning with Rejuvime, there was no one that was scaling a hormone replacement therapy clinic. Yeah. And me and Doc were talking about it. And we were like, there wasn't a playbook out there, right? But I just kind of looked at Doc and I was like, man, why don't we just be like Raising Cane's?
Yeah.
And he was like, Pixley, they sell chicken. I was like, exactly. That's all they do is chicken. They just stuck to one thing and they mastered it. And now they have 800 locations or whatever it is across the U.S. So I think so going back, when I say don't be a rat chasing shiny objects, stick to one thing. If you chase 2 rabbits, you won't catch either. Yeah. Right?
No, makes sense.
I like with pretty much everything that I do, there's always a single bullseye goal that I look at. I'll often use it at work where I use the analogy of a target where you've got like think of a dartboard, right? And so in the dead center is obviously the bullseye, right? And then you have all the point system outside of it. So I'll always ask the team, I'm back, oh God, here we go. Here's the bullseye again. But I'm just trying to reel them back in, right? And I'm like, okay, guys, what are we looking at? All right, a target. I was like, all right, perfect.
Does this actually happen?
Yes.
Look at her face. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, too many
times.
Look,
Grace has been here, I think, for 4 to 6 weeks. And somebody says, he done the bullseye on you? Oh, yeah, I got bullseye. So I said, where is the bullseye? And they go, it's right there. I was like, is it in the dead center? And they go, yes. I said, is it ever anywhere else? And they go, no, I've never told you this.
I don't think so. Okay, that's why I'm locked in. Let's go.
Cool. I said, is it ever anywhere else? And they're like, no. I said, it's not like top left, top right, top. And they're like, no, it's always in the dead center. I said, is it the biggest part or the smallest part? And they're like, it's the smallest part. Is it ever anything else? And they're like, no. I said, you see all these rings around it? What are those? And of course, you'll have somebody back. Less points. That's the bullshit.
Love it.
The reason it's so hard sometimes is even though it's in the dead center, it's small and it's surrounded by all this other BS. Strip all of that out and remind yourself, what is the bullseye? What am I trying to accomplish here? And I don't know where the hell I got that from, to be honest with you. My brain just kind of works like that. Yeah. Like, how can I say something in a metaphor that people will get? or an analogy or whatever.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. It's cool because, I mean, and again, I'm sure you relate to this as a younger dude. Like at some point you want to go do everything, right?
Yes.
And I've had a couple investors, business partners, and they're like, dude, you do cards, you do this, you stick there. You're going to kill it and eventually it'll grow, right? And that
and look what happened.
So, exactly.
Right.
Yep. And so, I mean, and I've heard that for a long time. And even when I first got into business, I'm going to invest here, I'm going to do this, right? It's like, hey, dude, just stay here, get good at this. And so I love that metaphor. I do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let you get out of here in a couple minutes, but real quick, we were talking about some employees that are new. You've had them. I mentioned Holly was my.
She's our lead provider, so
Yeah.
she's over all of the providers. She's got an incredibly important, responsible job, but she's awesome.
Yeah. So you have people that have been there 5-6 years.
Oh yeah.
How have you seen the company grow, change, develop, and where do you ultimately see it going for ultimate success?
So in the short term, all I know is the Christmas party went from being at my house for the last 2 years to it can't be at my house anymore.
I love it.
Just in the last 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
But no, by far the most rewarding thing, and Doc and I were talking about this morning. We were saying how, you don't just build a company or build a business just to build a business or just to make more money. There's a people component to it. Right, because you're bringing more people in. You're creating an environment where people can come and grow. And it was one of the things we all had the goal from the get go. Even when there was just a few of us, the thought process I had was, man, we can actually build this thing into something where people don't feel like they're working, and they get to grow and they get to be promoted from within. So I think I was telling you last time. Our director of HQ, Katie Kelly, who started with us at the front desk. Ryan Trexler, her VP in our headquarters, also started at the front desk. Holly, started pretty much had to drink through a fire hose, learning all this stuff, training herself. And now she's responsible for 11 other providers, right? And training them and has to put together a system to be able to train 3 and 4 at a time coming up for some stuff that we're doing. I could go through Brittany DeSherry, who ironically I left her out on the first take. And I can't believe of all the people that I left her out.
I'm not leaving her out this time.
No. She started out as an LPN. Then she became our director of operations. I was always a huge fan of don't put people in boxes, right? Like coach people in the direction you want them to go, but don't put them in boxes. Like you'd be amazed if you give somebody an opportunity, how they will rise to it, right? And so now Brittany's in charge of expansion, and we brought Savannah Rhymes, Rafe's sister.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
She is good friends with Katie. So I recognized the name Rafe, but I wasn't the one like, oh my God, you're Rafe's sister, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But then ever since I'm like, hey, this is if I'm introducing her to a family member or something, this is Rafe Rhymes' sister. He holds the single season batting average for LSU. But no, just watching everybody. I know I'm Lacey May out in Metairie. She's been with us for 5 years. She's just an incredible provider. There's just so many. There was this foundation that was built years back. It was a standard, and then we just maintained it. We just kept it, and we always say you get what you tolerate, right? So our big thing was we're not willing to settle.
I love it, and I'm sure it's music to Joe's ear over here because him and I's story is that way. He was coming, knocking on the door here, asking for opportunity.
Right.
We started slow with. He was doing retail stuff. He has worn 15 different hats, and now he's a great producer, editor. He has his own, he's molded into this. And that's what I tell my first 5 employees here. I'm like, guys, we're starting. We are the foundation. So I love hearing stuff like this. It's incredibly motivating. I think it's music to my ears when you say I don't put people in boxes, because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, yo, we wear multiple hats here. We're going to figure out what we're good at, what you're good at, but I want to give you the freedom to do what you guys want to do and grow, and we're going to grow together. So it's really cool to hear that.
It is, man, and good for you guys, and it's rewarding, because it's one thing to watch yourself grow, right? That's cool, but it's also it can be a bit finite to be able to play a part in someone else
Yep.
and like do it
Exactly.
together,
Yeah.
that's huge.
That's kind of what I sell to them all the time. And it's fun to hear success stories or see success stories because we're at that ground level right now, that foundation. We can taste it a little bit, you know, but it's probably nice for them to hear that and stuff too. So,
oh, absolutely.
And that's why I always say you, Brandon, you know, Todd, all the guys in town here that I think are doing a great job growing businesses, building teams, the way your people work for you. When I go into that building, it's fun for me once a week.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
great people. They treat us well. They treat me well. I'm excited for the 5 minutes that I'm in there, you know,
Right.
and it's a reason why I do my shot there rather than just do it at my crib. You know, it's a good little breakup for the week and stuff. So I appreciate what you guys have built. I appreciate how you guys have changed my life too.
Oh man, thank you.
And obviously sponsoring the podcast and
Yes,
stuff too. So
absolutely. Let's keep that rocking.
absolutely. Well, I know you're a busy man. You guys got to get rolling. Parker, is there anything else we left out that we want to cover, or you want him to talk about or anything?
Good. Right. Good.
Anything else you want to leave anybody with, or?
No, just
we pretty much put everything in the show notes. Like everything's covered for you guys. So if there's anything else you wanted, but we do it all.
Good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
No, dude, this was amazing. Thanks for the time, and we appreciate it.
You got it, bro.